Heartbreak can feel like a personal failure, yet this pain holds a hidden curriculum for unmatched strength. I am going to show you 25 Stoic lessons that will completely reframe your breakup, transforming raw emotion into unshakable character. By the end, you will know exactly how to become the version of yourself she looks back on with genuine respect, not regret. What does it truly mean to love your fate when it feels like a betrayal, and how can silence become your most powerful reply? What single choice separates a man consumed by loss from one forged by it? The first and most vital lesson is to separate what is yours from what is not. This is the Stoic bedrock known as the dichotomy of control. In any situation, especially one as emotionally charged as a breakup, you must draw a clear line. On one side are the things that are up to you, your own judgments, your actions, your values, and your effort. On the other side is everything else, the entire external world, which includes her feelings, her decisions, her past actions, and the simple fact that the relationship has ended. Your pain does not come from the event itself, but from your judgment of it, from desperately trying to control what was never yours to command. Right now, in the raw aftermath, this principle becomes your most practical tool. Take a moment and make two lists in your mind. First, what can you actually control? You control how you choose to respond today. You control whether you wallow or you get up and move your body. You control the discipline of your thoughts, steering them away from obsessive replay and toward constructive reflection. You control your commitment to your own health, your work, your friendships, and your personal growth. This is your domain, your sovereign territory. Now, list what you cannot control. You cannot control her feelings. You cannot control her decision to leave. You cannot control if she has moved on or what she tells her friends. You cannot control the past, not a single moment of it. Every second spent agonizing over these external facts is a second of your life and energy poured into a bottomless well. It is the definition of futility. The breakup itself is now in that column. It is an external event. Your power lies exclusively in the next column, in your response to it. This mental sorting is not a one-time exercise. It is a constant practice, a filter you run every turbulent thought through. Is this my business or is it not? When you feel the ache of missing her, ask yourself, is her absence something I can change? The honest answer will guide your energy back to where it can actually build something, back to yourself. This acceptance is not passive resignation. It is the active, courageous choice to focus your finite strength where it can make a difference. Mastering this single lesson dismantles the engine of your suffering and lays the foundation for everything that follows. This mental sorting leads directly to the second and perhaps most transformative lesson, amor fati, a love of one's fate. This idea was championed by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, but it lives at the very heart of Stoic courage. It asks for more than mere acceptance. It demands that you learn to love your breakup as a necessary event for your growth. Think of it this way: acceptance is saying, okay, this happened and I cannot change it. Love is saying, I am grateful this happened because it forced me to become who I needed to be. This is the ultimate reframe. The pain is not a punishment, it is a profound lesson. The loneliness is not an emptiness, it is a catalyst for a deeper self-discovery you would have never pursued in comfort. The end of that shared story is not a loss of your future, it is the sudden, startling freedom to write a completely new one with you as the sole author. How do you begin to love something that hurts so much? You start by interrogating the pain. What is it trying to teach you? Perhaps it is revealing a dependency you mistook for love, showing you where you outsourced your happiness to another person. Perhaps it is highlighting a weakness in your character, a tendency to avoid conflict or neglect your own goals. This pain is the signal, the exact coordinates on the map of your soul that require your attention and your strength. See the breakup not as a door slammed shut, but as a hallway of 100 new doors suddenly unlocked. You are now free to rebuild your life on your own terms, without compromise, without the silent negotiations of a partnership. That person you always meant to become, the skills you wanted to learn, the adventures you postponed, they are all waiting in this new chapter. Amor fati means looking back at the relationship and even its painful ending and saying thank you. Thank you for the joy we had, and thank you for the pain that followed, because both were essential. One gave you memories, the other gave you metal, forging a resilience that cannot be taken away. This love is not a feeling that arrives overnight. It is a choice you make every morning when you wake up. You choose to see the breakup not as the worst thing that ever happened to you, but as the very thing that is going to make you. Gratitude for what was, however, requires a clear-eyed acknowledgement that it is truly over. This brings us to the third lesson, memento mori, the practice of remembering death. At first glance, this seems a morbid, even cruel, thing to consider in the midst of heartbreak. But hear me out, because this ancient exercise holds a stunningly liberating key for your recovery. Memento mori is not about dwelling on the end, it is about being awakened by it. The death of your relationship is a powerful, personal microcosm of life's ultimate truth. Nothing lasts forever. Not the blissful early days, not the comfortable routines, not even the deepest connections are immune to time and change. The Stoics did not use this idea to make themselves sad. They used it to shock themselves into vivid, urgent appreciation. They would literally keep a skull on their desk, not as a decoration of gloom, but as a daily whisper, "You are alive right now, so live. Your breakup is that skull." It is the undeniable proof that a chapter of your life has reached its final period, and that very finality is what makes the next lesson possible. When you truly accept that the past relationship is dead and gone, you stop trying to perform emotional CPR on a corpse. You stop replaying old conversations hoping for a different ending. You stop mentally decorating a house that has already burned down. This acceptance is the foundation of real gratitude. You can look back at the good times not with a desperate longing to return to them, but with a genuine thankfulness that you got to experience them at all. It happened, it was real, and now it is part of your history. More importantly, memento mori forces your attention forward onto the time you still have. If that beautiful, painful part of your story is definitively over, then what are you going to do with the blank pages that come next? The energy you are spending on grief and regret is suddenly available, a tremendous reservoir of power. Channel it. The impermanence of all things is not a tragedy, it is the engine of meaning. Knowing the concert will end makes you listen more intently to the music. Knowing the vacation will finish makes you savor every sunset. In the same way, knowing your old life with her is gone should make you fiercely committed to building a new one for yourself. This perspective does not erase the pain, it simply surrounds it with a much larger and more compelling context, the urgent, precious project of your own life. Remembering that everything ends, including your sorrow, gives you the courage to begin again. But how do you build the strength to face that new beginning without fear? You prepare for it in the most counterintuitive way possible. This is the fourth lesson, a practice the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. At its core, it is a mental vaccination. The idea is to deliberately, vividly imagine the worst possible outcomes before they happen, not to make yourself miserable, but to inoculate yourself against the shock and devastation if they ever do. In the context of your past relationship, the most powerful application of this tool is actually happening right now, in your present moment. You are living through the very scenario a practicing Stoic would have mentally rehearsed. The breakup has happened, the loss is real, so now you take this practice a step further into the future. What are the fears that still haunt you? What are the mental movies that cause a physical jolt of pain? You must play them on purpose. Imagine in clear detail running into her with someone new. See their linked hands, hear her laugh, observe a happiness that does not include you. Do not shy away from the sting, sit with it, then ask yourself, and what then? Does the world end? Do you cease to exist? No, you feel a terrible ache and then you continue breathing. You go home, you live through the next hour and the next day. Now imagine the fear of permanent loneliness. Picture a future where you never find that connection again, where your life unfolds in a quiet solitude you did not choose. Examine that image closely. Is it truly an empty life, or is it a life with a different shape, one that could still hold meaning, purpose, and quiet joys of its own? By consciously walking into these dark rooms of your mind and turning on the light, you accomplish two vital things. First, you desensitize yourself. The first time you imagine a painful scenario, it hits with full force. The 10th time, the 100th time, it loses its edge. You build emotional calluses. The mental image no longer triggers a panic response because you have faced it already on your own terms, in the safety of your own mind. Second, and more importantly, you prove to yourself that you can handle it. You discover your own resilience not by avoiding the thought, but by staring it down and realizing that on the other side of that fear is still you, still standing. This is not about wishing for bad things to happen. It is about removing their power to paralyze you. When you have already weathered the worst-case scenario in your imagination, the actual events of life, which are almost always less severe than your fears, become manageable. You stop being a hostage to uncertainty. The future, whatever it brings, loses its capacity for terror because you have already met it at the gates and looked it in the eye. This practice turns anxiety into preparation. The fear of seeing her move on becomes a resolved understanding that if it happens, you will be okay. The dread of being alone transforms into a calm assessment of how you would actually fill that space with a life worth living. By rehearsing misfortune, you are not attracting it, you are disarming it, ensuring that no future event can ever truly ambush you again. Disarming your deepest fears creates a space of immense power, a space where you can finally see the situation for what it truly is. The fifth lesson is perhaps the most empowering of all. The obstacle is the way. This phrase, echoed by Marcus Aurelius and popularized by Ryan Holiday, flips the entire script on your suffering. Your breakup is not a barrier standing between you and your happiness. It is the very path you must walk to discover a strength you never knew you possessed. Every single element of this pain, the hollow loneliness, the confusing anger, the ache of missing her, is not waste, it is fuel. Think of your character as a muscle. Comfort does not build it, resistance does, and right now, life has handed you the heaviest weight you have ever lifted. Every time you feel that surge of longing to text her, and you choose not to, that is a rep. Every time you see a memory pop up on your phone, and you consciously decide to close the app and go for a walk instead, that is a rep. Every morning you wake up with that heavy feeling, and you make your bed anyway, you show up for your work anyway, you treat people with kindness anyway, you are putting in the work. The challenge of no contact is not a punishment, it is your training ground for the virtue of discipline. The temptation to stalk her social media is not just a bad habit, it is your arena for practicing self-control. The confusion about who you are without her is not a crisis, it is your invitation to forge a new, independent identity. This is how you use the obstacle. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to make of me? The loneliness is teaching you how to be your own best company. The rejection is sanding down your ego, making you more humble and more real. The silence where her voice used to be is forcing you to finally listen to your own. You are not avoiding the pain, you are metabolizing it, turning it into competence, into resilience, into wisdom. The path forward is not around this heartbreak, it is straight through the center of it. Walk directly into the discomfort. When you want to hide from the world, go to the gym instead. When you want to numb the feelings, sit with them and journal instead. When you want to complain about your fate, find one small thing to improve about your immediate surroundings. This is the alchemy of character. taking the base metal of a painful experience and transforming it into gold. The obstacle is not in your way, it is the way, and each step you take on this difficult path is a step toward becoming the man who looks back at this moment not with regret, but with gratitude for the training it provided. That inner fortress you are building needs a vigilant guard at the gate. This is the sixth lesson, guarding your inner citadel. The Stoics saw the mind as a fortified castle, your private sanctuary of peace and reason. Everything outside the walls, from the weather to other people's opinions, is just noise. Right now, her words, the haunting memories, the temptation to check her social media, these are not just passing thoughts. They are external events launching a siege against your peace. Your full-time job is to be the guard on the wall, deciding what gets to cross the drawbridge into your mind. You would not let a hostile army simply march into your home, so why would you let a painful memory set up camp in your consciousness and run wild? The first tactic is mindfulness, which is simply the practice of catching the intruder at the gate. You are sitting at work, and suddenly a vivid memory of a vacation you took together flashes into your head. The old you might have let that memory in, followed it down a rabbit hole of nostalgia and pain for 20 minutes. The guard, the new you, spots it immediately. You acknowledge the thought without judgment. You see it for what it is, just a mental image, a piece of data from the past. And then, with conscious effort, you let it pass by. You do not fight it, you do not entertain it, you simply observe it and return your focus to your breath, to the task in front of you, to the present moment. This takes practice, but each time you do it, you strengthen the walls. The second tactic is to curate your digital environment with ruthless intention. Your phone is not a neutral tool, it is a potential siege engine pointed directly at your citadel. Every old photo album, every saved message thread, every mutual friend's profile that might show her, these are all loaded weapons you are keeping in your own armory. The guard's duty is disarmament. This means unfollowing, muting, or even blocking. It means archiving or deleting those photo albums, not out of bitterness but out of hygiene. You are removing the triggers that give the invading thoughts an easy entry point. It is not about denying the past existed. It is about refusing to let the past occupy your present. The third tactic is a conscious audit of the physical mementos you allow inside your space. That sweater she left, that concert ticket stub, the gift sitting on your shelf. Each one is a tiny ambassador from a foreign country that no longer exists. Ask yourself honestly, does this object bring me peace, or does it whisper a story of loss? The guard must be discerning. If an item causes more pain than fond remembrance, it is time for it to go into a box out of sight or out of your life entirely. You are not erasing history, you are simply choosing not to build a shrine to it in the middle of your living room. Guarding your citadel is an active, daily discipline. It means when a friend brings her up in conversation, you politely but firmly change the subject. It means when you feel the urge to drive by her old place, you turn the car in the opposite direction. You are protecting the most valuable real estate you own, your inner peace. Every time you choose to be the guard, you send a powerful message to yourself that your sanity and your future are worth defending. And a well-guarded mind becomes an unassailable source of strength, a quiet place where your true character can finally grow. A well-guarded mind provides the quiet space for a far more subtle skill. The seventh lesson is to judge less and understand more. The Stoics taught that we are disturbed not by events themselves, but by our interpretations of them. Every time your mind replays the breakup, it is not just remembering facts, it is layering on a story, a judgment, a verdict. She left because she was selfish. She moved on quickly because she never cared. That thing she said was meant to be cruel. Each of these thoughts is a judgment you are passing, and with each judgment, you are sentencing yourself to another round of anger, confusion, and pain. Your suffering is not in the raw event of her leaving, it is entirely in the meaning you are choosing to assign to it. To break this cycle, you must learn the art of removing the narrative. Start by catching your thoughts in the act. Notice when your internal monologue shifts from observation to accusation. You are not a bad person for having these thoughts, they are natural. But you have the power to question them. When you think, "She did that to hurt me," pause. Is that a fact you can prove, or is it your story? Can you see inside her mind and know her true intentions? Almost certainly not, so replace the judgment with a simple, neutral observation. She said those words, she made that choice, she acted, full stop, then practice understanding. The Stoic aim is to see people as acting according to their own nature and their own reasoning, however flawed it may seem from your perspective. She did what made sense to her at that time, based on her own fears, desires, history, and capacity. This is not about excusing hurtful behavior or saying it was okay. It is about removing the personal poison from it. When you see her actions as simply the output of her internal programming, rather than a targeted missile aimed at your worth, the sting begins to fade. It becomes less about you and more about her journey, which you are no longer a part of. Try viewing the entire relationship and its end with an almost anthropological curiosity. You are a researcher studying a fascinating, completed case study. What were the conditions that led to this outcome? What were the belief systems at play? What needs were unmet? This detached perspective drains the emotional charge from the memories. It transforms a personal tragedy into a human experience, one you can learn from without being crippled by. The anger that binds you to her, the victimhood that keeps you small, these are fed by your judgments. When you suspend judgment, you are not saying what happened was good. You are simply refusing to add the layer of story that turns pain into prolonged suffering. You free up immense mental energy previously spent on prosecuting a case that will never go to trial. That energy can now be directed inward toward a much more important question. Not why did she do this, but what do I do now? Understanding her humanity in all its complexity and imperfection is the final step in releasing your grip on the past. It allows you to close the book not with a slam of anger, but with a quiet nod of comprehension, leaving your hands free to open a new one. Closing the book on the past with understanding frees you to write the next chapter with a different kind of pen. The eighth lesson is to act with virtue, not for reward. In the raw aftermath, it is easy to feel justified in small acts of pettiness, in crafting a cleverly hurtful text, in bad-mouthing her to mutual friends, or in dragging your feet on returning her things. These impulses feel like reclaiming power, but they are actually surrendering your character to the whims of your pain. Stoicism offers a far more powerful compass. Your only true job is to act with the four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, regardless of what anyone else does or how it makes you feel. Your actions are not a negotiation with the world, they are a declaration of who you are. So what does this look like in the messy reality of a breakup? It starts with wisdom, which here means seeing the situation with clear eyes. Wisdom understands that a relationship is a contract, and that contract has been dissolved. It knows that trying to punish her is like drinking poison and expecting her to get sick. It recognizes that the most intelligent path forward is one of clean, dignified disengagement. This wisdom guides your courage. Courage is not the absence of fear or pain, it is action in spite of it. It is the courage to have that final conversation if one is needed and to speak with honest kindness. You say what needs to be said for closure without theatrics or blame. You listen without interrupting, not because you agree, but because you respect her humanity enough to hear her perspective. Then courage manifests as the discipline of no contact. You do not call when you are lonely at 2 in the morning. You do not like her old photos as a cryptic signal. This is not a game to make her miss you. It is a respectful boundary you hold for your own healing and for her peace. It is the courageous admission that the bridge is out, and to keep walking toward it is to injure yourself further. Next is justice, which in this personal sphere means fairness and integrity. Handle the shared logistics, the divided belongings, the untangled finances with scrupulous fairness. If you owe her money, pay it promptly. If you have a box of her things, drop it off without drama or delay. Do not use these practical matters as leverage for one last conversation or as an opportunity to inflict inconvenience. Justice also means speaking about her, if you must speak of her at all, with basic respect. You do not lie, but you do not volunteer every grievance to anyone who will listen. You refer to the past with a neutral dignity, because to trash her character is to trash a part of your own history and to reveal your own bitterness. Finally, there is temperance, which is self-restraint and moderation. Temperance is the master virtue that holds the others in balance. It is the voice that stops you from sending that 10th text. It is the hand that puts the bottle down when you are tempted to numb the feelings instead of feeling them. It is the choice to feel the tidal wave of anger and to let it pass through you without letting it dictate your actions. You practice temperance by not stalking her social media, by not orchestrating coincidental meetings, by not trying to make her jealous. You are moderating your own impulses, proving to yourself that you are in command. The crucial point is this: you do all of this not as a strategy to win her back or to make her regret her decision. You do it because this is the person you choose to be, even when no one is watching, especially when it is hard. Acting with virtue when you have every emotional excuse not to is the ultimate proof of your growth. It forges an inner integrity that no future relationship can threaten. When you look in the mirror, you will see a man who handled a deeply painful situation with strength and grace, not a man who was diminished by it. That self-respect becomes the most solid foundation you can possibly build your future upon. That self-respect built through virtuous action gives you a stable ground to stand on. But where do you stand? Your mind keeps trying to drag you into the haunted house of the past or the funhouse of mirrors that is the future. The 9th lesson is to focus on the present moment, because the here and now is all you truly have. Think about where your pain lies, the sharp anxiety, the dread that tightens your chest, that is almost always a projection into the future. What if I am alone forever? What if she was my only chance? What if I never feel that way again? That is your mind time traveling, borrowing trouble from a tomorrow that does not yet exist. Then there is the heavy, gray weight of depression, the longing and regret that lives entirely in the past, in the museum of what you had, what you said, what you lost. You are paying a tax on memories. Stoicism offers the ultimate anchor, the present moment. It is the only place where life is actually happening, and the only place where you have any real agency. The past is a story, the future is a guess, but right now you are breathing. Right now you can choose. The goal is to shrink the overwhelming, terrifying timeline of forever into a series of manageable, right-now moments. You do not have to solve your entire life today. You just have to live this hour well. How do you do this when your mind is a runaway train? You need practical, physical exercises to yank your awareness back into your body. Start with a 5 senses grounding technique. The next time you feel that wave of panic or sadness begin to rise, stop. Literally plant your feet on the floor. Then look around and name, out loud if you can, 5 things you can see. The grain of the wood on your desk, the blue of a pen, the pattern of light on the wall. Then 4 things you can feel: the texture of your shirt against your skin, the cool air on your face, the pressure of the chair, the floor beneath your feet. 3 things you can hear: the hum of the refrigerator, distant traffic, the sound of your own breath. 2 things you can smell: the scent of coffee, clean laundry, the air itself. 1 thing you can taste: the lingering flavor of your last meal, or simply the clean taste in your mouth. This is not a distraction. It is a forceful relocation of your consciousness from the abstract world of thought to the concrete, safe world of sensory reality. You are here. Another method is to fully immerse yourself in a single, simple task. Do the dishes, but do not just do them while your mind wanders. do them with your complete attention. Feel the temperature of the water, notice the slickness of the soap, observe the way the light reflects off a clean plate. Fold laundry and focus on the precise lines, the warmth from the dryer, the simple order you are creating. Go for a walk and instead of listening to a podcast, listen to your footsteps, feel the rhythm of your breath, notice the colors and shapes of the world moving past you. This is meditation in motion. It trains your brain to reside in the now, and of course there is the simple act of conscious breathing. Sit for just 60 seconds. Inhale slowly for a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Do not try to stop your thoughts, just let them float by like clouds while you keep returning your focus to the physical sensation of air filling your lungs and leaving your body. This 1 minute is a declaration of independence from the tyranny of past and future. When you master these small moments, you build a profound resilience. The question shifts from how will I survive the rest of my life without her, to what is the next right thing I can do in this next 5 minutes. You break your life down into units you can actually manage. You eat this meal, you finish this work task, you have this conversation with a friend. String enough of these well-lived present moments together, and you will look up one day to find that the future you feared has become a present you are proud of, built one anchored, conscious breath at a time. The present moment is your anchor, but it also reveals a profound truth about the stories we tell ourselves and others. The 10th lesson is to understand that your reputation is not in your control, and you must let go of what she thinks. This is the dichotomy of control applied to the most sensitive nerve of a breakup, your ego. You have spent so much time and energy building a shared story with this person, and now that story has 2 competing authors. You are desperate to control the narrative, to ensure she sees you in a certain light, to make her understand your pain, or perhaps to make her regret her choice. But here is the Stoic reality, articulated clearly by Epictetus. You must be concerned with being a good person, not with being seen as one. Her perception of you, her version of events, the story she tells her friends, even the reasons she gives for leaving, these all exist firmly outside the walls of your inner citadel. They are in the column of things not up to you. Trying to control them is like trying to direct the wind with your bare hands, a frantic and utterly exhausting exercise in futility. Every time you craft a social media post hoping she will see it, every time you angle a conversation with a mutual friend to drop a hint about how well you are doing, every time you rehearse an imaginary argument where you finally get her to see your side, you are pouring your precious life force into a black hole. You are handing her the remote control to your emotional state. Your peace becomes contingent on her thoughts, which you cannot access and cannot change. The freedom in releasing this need is staggering. Imagine the weight of that constant performance simply falling from your shoulders. You no longer have to manage an image. You no longer have to prove you are okay or hurt or successful or indifferent. You simply get to be. Your actions are no longer for an audience of one, they are for you. This is where silent dignity becomes your most powerful language. Instead of telling the world you are handling it well, you handle it well. Instead of posting about your new gym routine, you go to the gym. Instead of announcing your personal growth, you quietly grow. This consistent, virtuous action, done without any need for external validation, builds a character that is solid and real. It cannot be argued with because it is not a statement, it is a fact, and in time, that fact becomes its own reputation. The people who matter will see it. They will notice the calm where there was once chaos, the strength where there was fragility, the integrity in how you handled a messy situation. And as for her, her perception will be what it will be. It may be accurate, it may be distorted by her own pain or justification, but it is hers to hold. Your job is to live in such a way that if her narrative is unkind, it is clearly a fiction to anyone who actually knows you. Letting go does not mean you do not care about being a good person. It means you care more about being one than about getting credit for it. You trade the exhausting work of reputation management for the profound work of character building. And a man who is secure in his own character does not need anyone else to approve the story. Letting go of her narrative frees up an immense amount of energy, but where should you direct it? Direct it towards something difficult on purpose. The 11th lesson is to practice voluntary discomfort. In the aftermath of a breakup, your instincts will scream for comfort, for the soft landing of junk food, for the numbing haze of too many drinks, for the familiar warmth of wallowing in your pain. These things feel like a relief, but they are a trap. They are borrowing peace from tomorrow at a ruinous interest rate, weakening your resolve and eroding the self-respect you are trying to rebuild. The ancient Stoics, from Seneca to Cotto, deliberately sought out hardship not because they were masochists, but because they were builders. They practiced poverty to appreciate wealth. They slept on hard floors to savor a soft bed. They fasted to truly enjoy a meal. This was their training regimen for life, a way to prove to themselves that their happiness was not dependent on external comforts. They were building an inner furnace that no external cold could ever extinguish. You need that furnace now. Your modern life does not require you to sleep on the ground, but the principle is timeless. You must voluntarily choose small, manageable hardships to rebuild the discipline and fortitude that the emotional shockwave of the breakup has shattered. Start with your body, the vessel that carries your mind. When the alarm goes off an hour earlier than you want and every cell begs for more sleep, get up anyway. That first victory, achieved in the quiet dark, sets the tone for the entire day. It is a declaration that you are in command. Then step into a cold shower. For those first 30 seconds, it is a shock, a rebellion of your entire nervous system. But then your breathing deepens, your mind focuses with a razor's clarity, and you emerge not just clean, but awake and alive in a way that warm water never provides. You have faced a small, self-imposed challenge and conquered it before breakfast. This is not about punishment, it is about reacquainting yourself with your own capacity for endurance. Next, consider a digital detox, a voluntary exile from the very platforms that fuel comparison and longing. For 24 hours, or even just from sunset to sunrise, put your phone in a drawer. The itch to check it, to scroll, to see if she has posted anything will be intense. That itch is the exact muscle you are training, the muscle of impulse control. Sitting with that boredom, that quiet, is a profound act of modern courage. It creates a space where you can hear your own thoughts again, without the constant static of everyone else's curated lives. Finally, commit to a challenging physical workout, one that pushes you to your edge. Lift a weight that feels heavy. Run a distance that makes your lungs burn. Do not just go through the motions, seek the struggle. In that moment of physical strain, you are having a direct conversation with your willpower. You are learning in the most visceral way possible that discomfort is temporary and that you are far stronger than the voice in your head that says to quit. Each of these small, voluntary acts is a brick in the reconstruction of your character. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you are sending a message to your deepest self. I am not a victim of my circumstances. I am the architect of my response. You are proving that you can handle difficulty, that you can thrive even in minor austerity. This rebuilt self-respect becomes your new foundation, unshakable because you built it yourself, one cold shower, one early morning, one resisted temptation at a time. The comfort you denied yourself temporarily will return to you as a permanent strength, the kind of strength that ensures no future loss will ever break you again. That inner furnace of discipline you are building needs a wider horizon to make sense of it all. The 12th lesson is to see the world from a higher view, a practice Marcus Aurelius called the view from above. It is a mental exercise in radical perspective, and it begins by closing your eyes and launching yourself into the sky. Imagine you are floating upward, looking down on your own neighborhood. Your house becomes a tiny box among thousands. The park where you had your first date is a small green patch. The coffee shop where you had that difficult final conversation is just a dot. Keep rising. Your entire city shrinks to a grid of lights, then a smudge on the landscape. The country becomes a shape on a globe. The earth itself becomes a pale blue marble hanging in the vast, silent black of space. Now, from this impossible distance, try to locate your breakup. Try to find the specific ache in your chest, the specific memory that kept you awake last night. From here, it is invisible. It is a microscopic event in the unfolding story of billions of lives on a planet that is itself a speck in an incomprehensibly large universe. This is not meant to make your pain feel trivial or insignificant. It is meant to place it within its true context. Your personal drama is not the center of the cosmos. It is one thread in an immense and ancient tapestry. This cosmic perspective accomplishes three profound things. First, it shrinks the overwhelming magnitude of your personal crisis. The feeling that your world has ended is revealed as a trick of proximity. You have been holding the pain so close to your face that it blocked out everything else. Stepping back, you see it as one event among many in your own life story, which is itself just one story among countless others. This creates instant relief, a loosening of the mental grip. Second, it connects you to something much larger than yourself. Look at that blue marble. On it right now, people are being born and people are dying. Wars are being fought and peace is being brokered. Love is being declared and love is being lost just like yours. You are not alone in your suffering. You are participating in the universal human experience of loss and renewal, a cycle as old as consciousness itself. This connection dissolves the isolating bubble of self-pity. You are not a singular tragedy, you are part of the human condition. Finally, this view instills a calm, deep understanding that this too shall pass. From the vantage point of centuries or millennia, your entire lifespan is a brief flash. The joy of the relationship and the pain of its end are both fleeting moments in that flash. This realization is not depressing, it is the ultimate source of peace. It means the current storm, no matter how violent, is temporary. The clouds will part. The landscape of your life will change again, as it always has and always will. You do not need to force the passing, you simply need to trust in the inevitability of change, a force as reliable as gravity. Practice this view daily. When you feel the walls of your sorrow closing in, take 60 seconds, breathe, and in your mind's eye, pull back the camera. See your room, your street, your city, the continent, the spinning planet. Remind yourself of the scale. Your pain is real, but it is not the only reality. This meditation does not erase your feelings. It simply gives them the proper amount of space in your consciousness, preventing them from consuming the whole of you. It returns to you a sense of agency because from this higher view, you can see that you are both the character in the drama and the author who gets to decide what happens in the next scene. The universe is vast, and your life, with all its beautiful, painful complexity, is a rare and precious chance to live it. The vastness of the cosmos brings your pain into focus, but to truly understand its shape, you must bring it down to the page. The 13th lesson is to turn your trials into teachings through the ancient practice of journaling. The Stoics were not just philosophers of thought, they were philosophers of action, and their most powerful tool was often a simple pen and blank scroll. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not for publication, but as a private dialogue with himself, a relentless audit of his own character. Your breakup journal should serve the same purpose, not as a diary of sadness to be reread and mourned, but as a field manual for your own reconstruction. This is where passive suffering gets drafted into active service. The act of writing forces chaos into coherence. A swirling storm of anger, regret, and confusion looks very different when it is pinned down in black and white. It becomes data you can analyze, not just a weather system you are trapped inside. Start by setting a clear intention for this practice. You are not here to catalog her wrongs or compose letters you will never send. You are here to excavate the lessons buried in the rubble. To do this, you need specific, targeted prompts that steer you away from self-pity and toward self-knowledge. Begin with this question: what did this relationship ultimately reveal about my own unmet needs? Be brutally honest. Did you look to her to provide a sense of stability you lacked in your own life? Did you seek validation through her affection, using her attention as proof of your worth? The relationship was a mirror, and its end has tilted that mirror to show you a reflection you might have avoided. Seeing these dependencies clearly is the first step toward filling those voids yourself from within. Next, ask yourself, where did I fail to act with virtue? This is not about blame, but about accountability. Recall specific moments. Was there a time you lacked the courage to have a difficult but necessary conversation? Did you compromise your integrity by saying something you did not mean, just to keep the peace? Did you indulge in jealousy or possessiveness, violating the virtue of temperance? Examining your own missteps is not about flogging yourself. It is about identifying the cracks in your character so you can repair them with stronger material. This is how you ensure the next relationship is built on a more solid foundation. Then pose the most important question of all: what is this specific pain trying to teach me? Is the loneliness teaching you how to build a fulfilling life on your own terms? Is the rejection sanding down your ego, making you more humble and authentic? Is the anger showing you where you still need to practice forgiveness, both for her and for yourself? Each pang of emotion is a messenger. Journaling lets you sit that messenger down and calmly ask, what is your message? When you write from this perspective, you are no longer a victim of your history, you are a student of it. You are mining your experience for the raw ore of wisdom. Over time, your journal becomes a record of progress. You can look back at entries from the first week and see the raw, unfiltered pain. Then, weeks later, you will see the questions becoming more pointed, the insights more clear. You will see yourself identifying patterns, making plans, and celebrating small victories of mindset. This documented journey is the ultimate proof that you are not stuck, you are evolving. The page becomes a silent, non-judgmental witness to your transformation, a private testament to the fact that you are using this trial as your teacher. And a man who learns from his pain is a man who never suffers in vain. The raw data of your experience becomes meaningful only when you decide what to do with it. This brings us to the 14th lesson, the most empowering space you will ever occupy, the gap between stimulus and response. The psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl, who embodied Stoic principles in the darkest of places, observed that between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our growth and our freedom lies our power. Your breakup is the ultimate stimulus, a seismic emotional event. But the tremor is not what defines you. What happens in the quiet, often frantic, space before you react is where your character is forged. That space is your sovereignty. It might feel tiny, a fraction of a second, but it is the entire arena of your freedom. Let us make this painfully concrete. Imagine the stimulus. You are out with friends and you see her. She is with someone new. They are laughing, his hand resting lightly on her back. The image hits your nervous system like a physical blow. Your heart rate spikes, your stomach drops, your face flushes. This is the stimulus. It is automatic, biological, and you are not to blame for it. Now the space opens. In that fragile, critical moment, two entirely different futures diverge. One path is the knee-jerk reaction. Your mind, hijacked by panic and pain, immediately fills the space with a story of betrayal and comparison. It demands action. You might feel the overwhelming urge to stare, to make sure she sees you seeing her. You might rush to your phone, your fingers trembling as you pull up her social media to investigate. You might leave abruptly, consumed by a jealousy so sharp it feels like sickness. You might spend the rest of the night dissecting every detail with your friends, drinking to dull the ache, pouring your energy into a black hole of resentment. This path surrenders your power. It allows the external event to dictate your internal state and your outward behavior. You have become a puppet, and the stimulus is pulling all the strings. But there is another path. In that same space, you take a single, conscious breath. You acknowledge the pang of pain without judgment. You feel it, you name it. That is jealousy, that is hurt. And then, with deliberate effort, you choose. You choose to look away, not in shame, but in respect for your own peace. You choose to turn your attention back to your friend's conversation, to the taste of your drink, to the music in the room. You choose to finish your evening with dignity, to walk out into the night air and feel it on your face. Later, if the thought returns, you choose to observe it like a passing cloud, and then redirect your focus to a book, to a project, to your own life. This path is not about suppressing emotion, it is about choosing your action. The feeling may still be there, but you are no longer its servant. You have used the space to insert your will between what happened and what you do next. This is the daily, moment-by-moment practice of a Stoic. Every stimulus life throws at you, from a rude comment to a major loss, contains that same sacred space. Your power does not lie in preventing the stimulus. You cannot control the world. Your power lies exclusively in widening that space through practice and in choosing, again and again, a response aligned with your virtues. When you master this, you become unshakable. No external event, not a breakup, not a professional failure, not even seeing her happy with someone else, can ever force you to act against your own character again. You reclaim the authorship of your life, one conscious choice in that tiny, infinite space at a time. Mastering that space between event and action builds a presence that others cannot help but notice. The 15th lesson is to become a rock in the storm, to demonstrate equanimity. Equanimity is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of a steady calm that holds firm even when the emotional waves are crashing all around you. It is the visible proof that your inner citadel is secure. In the context of your breakup, this is where your private growth becomes public character. You might be hurting deeply on the inside, but your external composure tells a different, more powerful story. It tells the world, and more importantly, it tells you that you are governed by principle, not by pain. This visible stability is one of the most respectable traits you can possibly display. It shows a deep emotional mastery that speaks louder than any words of anger or self-pity ever could. So what does this look like in practice? It begins with your speech. When friends ask about the breakup, you offer a brief, factual summary without venom. You say, "We realized we wanted different things and it was time to part ways." You do not launch into a detailed indictment of her flaws. You do not paint yourself as the flawless victim. You speak with a neutral dignity that closes the door on gossip and invites respect. This restraint is not dishonesty, it is discretion. It protects your energy and prevents you from reinforcing a narrative of bitterness every time you talk about it. Next, consider your digital footprint. The urge to post something cryptic, a sad song lyric, a vague quote about betrayal, or even a triumphant display of your new life, is a cry for attention masquerading as expression. It is a public signal aimed directly at her, a way of saying, "Look what you did," or "Look what you are missing." Equanimity refuses to play this game. Your social media becomes a quiet testament to your life moving forward, not a billboard for your emotional state. You post about your interests, your achievements, your time with friends, or you simply post nothing at all. The silence itself becomes a statement of strength, a declaration that your validation comes from within, not from the reactive currency of likes and imagined perceptions. Finally, and this is the ultimate test, equanimity governs any unavoidable interactions with her. Perhaps you run into each other at a mutual friends gathering. Your heart might hammer against your ribs, 1,000 memories and questions flooding your mind. The equanimous man does not flee, but he also does not force an intense, private conversation in a public corner. He offers a polite, brief nod or a simple, neutral greeting. "Hello, how have you been? Good to see you," and then he gracefully turns his attention elsewhere. He does not linger with desperate eyes. He does not ask loaded questions. He does not use the moment to deliver a rehearsed line. He treats her with the same basic, polite respect he would offer any acquaintance. This polite neutrality is not coldness, it is profound emotional intelligence. It acknowledges the shared past without being enslaved by it. It maintains a boundary that is firm yet courteous. It communicates clearly and without drama that the chapter is closed and you are at peace with its ending. Every time you choose equanimity over emotional reactivity, you are doing more than managing a social situation. You are conducting a live demonstration of your own transformation. You are proving to yourself in real time that the pain does not own you. This consistent external calm eventually begins to reshape your internal landscape. The act of holding steady teaches your nervous system that it is safe to be steady. People will notice this quiet strength. They will see a man who handles profound personal disruption with grace, and that commands a deep, unspoken respect. It shows that you have navigated the storm and emerged not battered and bitter, but solid and anchored. You become the rock, and that is a foundation upon which an entirely new kind of life can be built. A rock does not need applause to be solid. Your strength is measured by an internal metric, one that no outside opinion can alter. This is the 16th lesson. Your duty is to your character, to live by what Warren Buffett famously called an inner scorecard. After a breakup, the world is full of outer scorecards. Did she regret it? Do your friends think you are handling it well? Are you posting pictures that prove you are thriving? This external noise is a trap, a game you cannot win because the rules are written by others and change by the minute. Your only true duty, your sacred obligation, is to the man you see in the mirror when no one else is watching. Your job is not to win the breakup or to appear happy or to craft a narrative of victory. Your job is to uphold your integrity brick by brick in the quiet moments where it counts. So what does this look like in the trenches of your daily life? It begins with the promises you make to yourself. In the fog of heartbreak, you likely set some intentions. I am going to get back in shape. I am going to learn that new skill. I am going to organize my finances. These are not just tasks, they are covenants with your future self. The inner scorecard is brutally honest. It does not care about your excuses, your bad day, or your lingering sadness. It only records one thing: did you do what you said you would do? When the alarm goes off for the gym and every fiber of your being wants to hit snooze, that is the moment of truth. Going is a point on the inner scorecard. Staying in bed is a mark against your own trustworthiness. This is not about fitness, it is about fidelity to your own word. Each kept promise, no matter how small, deposits directly into your account of self-respect. Next, the inner scorecard judges how you treat others, especially when you are in pain. It is easy to be kind when you are feeling good. Your character is revealed when you are hurting. Are you short with the barrister because you are carrying a heavy heart? Do you snap at a friend who offers clumsy but well-intentioned advice? Do you withdraw from your family because you do not have the energy to pretend? The virtuous man, the one keeping his inner scorecard, recognizes his pain but refuses to outsource it. He takes a breath before speaking. He says thank you, even through a forced smile. He shows up for his loved ones, not as a ghost of his former self, but as a person who understands that his integrity includes how he makes others feel. This is not about being perfect, it is about the conscious effort to prevent your suffering from spilling onto innocent bystanders. Finally, and most crucially, the inner scorecard monitors your values under pressure. The breakup creates a vacuum, a raw need for comfort and validation. This is when cheap substitutes offer themselves, the temptation to numb the feelings with excessive drinking or mindless scrolling. The lure of a rebound relationship that uses another person as an emotional bandage. The fantasy of revenge, of trying to make her jealous or hurt. Each of these offers short-term relief at the cost of your long-term character. Consulting your inner scorecard means pausing and asking, does this action align with the man I am committed to becoming? Does drinking tonight honor my value of clarity? Does using someone for distraction honor my value of respect? Does plotting a petty revenge honor my value of dignity? Every time you choose the harder, more principled path, you are not just avoiding a mistake, you are actively defining who you are. You are writing the code of your own honor. The beautiful, liberating result of this practice is that you become utterly indifferent to the outer scorecard. Her opinion, the gossip, the social media perceptions, they all fade into background noise. You are too busy auditing your own actions, too focused on building something real within yourself to care about the flickering shadows on the wall. You stop asking, does she miss me, and start asking, am I living in a way I can respect? This inner focus transforms your recovery from a performance into a pilgrimage. The goal is no longer to arrive at a destination where she sees you differently, but to become a person you see differently in the mirror, a man whose quiet integrity is its own unshakable reward. That inner scorecard is a private measure of your own integrity, but the judgments you make about the world around you are just as personal. The 17th lesson is a fundamental shift in how you see everything, the idea that nothing is inherently good or bad. It is your perception that makes it so. This is a core Stoic tenet, a liberating truth that can drain the poison from your most painful memories. Think about the breakup itself. You have likely been labeling it as a bad thing, a tragedy, a failure. But what if you stripped away that label? At its most basic, the breakup is simply an event, a change in your social and emotional circumstances. It is a fact, like a change in the weather. The rain is not good or bad, it just is. It becomes bad when it ruins your picnic, or good when it waters your garden. The event is neutral. All of the suffering, the heavy weight you have been carrying, does not live in the event. It lives entirely in your judgment of it, in the story you attach to that neutral fact. She left means I am unlovable. The relationship ended means I failed. Those are judgments, not facts. They are interpretations you chose, perhaps unconsciously, and they are the source of your pain. This realization is not a semantic trick. It is a profound tool for reclaiming your peace. Your power lies in your ability to rejudge, to consciously choose a new story. So let us do that right now. Take the breakup, this neutral event, and challenge yourself to list every potential good that could possibly come from it. Start with the practical, tangible goods. You now have time, a tremendous amount of it, that was previously dedicated to the relationship. That time is a blank canvas. You can pour it into a hobby you neglected, a skill you always wanted to learn, or a fitness goal you put on hold. You have the freedom to reconnect with friends you may have drifted from, to have late-night conversations without checking the clock, to plan trips without consulting another person's schedule. This is not a consolation prize, it is reclaimed sovereignty over your own life. Now, look for the internal goods. The breakup forces a kind of spiritual and emotional growth that comfort never demands. It is showing you with painful clarity what you truly need and want in a partner. The things you miss reveal your values, the things that caused friction reveal your boundaries. You are learning in the most visceral way about your own capacity for resilience, for patience, for forgiveness. You are discovering parts of yourself that only emerge under pressure, like a diamond formed in the deep earth. This painful event is the catalyst for a self-knowledge you would have never gained in the easy, untested warmth of the continuing relationship. Even the loneliness, that hollow feeling, has a purpose. It is creating a space inside you. For a long time, that space was filled with the noise and presence of another person. Now it is empty, and that emptiness can be terrifying. But it is also sacred. It is the quiet necessary to hear your own voice again, to remember what brings you joy outside of any relationship, to reconnect with your own spirit. That space is where your next chapter will be written, but first you must sit in the quiet and listen. This cognitive reframing is an active practice. Every time you feel the old narrative rise, "She ruined my life," you must consciously challenge it. Did she, or did she simply make a choice that set in motion a series of events that are now forcing you to build a stronger, more independent, and more authentic life? The event did not change, your judgment of it has. This is how you drain the perceived negativity from the past. You stop seeing it as a catastrophe and start seeing it as a difficult, necessary, and ultimately fruitful turning point. The breakup is not the story of your defeat, it is the opening scene of your reinvention. And that is a story not of loss, but of immense, untapped potential waiting for your direction. Your pain is not an isolated island, but a single wave in a vast ocean. The 18th lesson introduces the Stoic concept of sympatheia, a profound sense of interconnectedness. This idea suggests that everything in the universe is woven into a single, living fabric, a web of cause and effect so intricate that pulling on one thread inevitably shifts the pattern somewhere else. Your relationship and its end were not random accidents. They were the result of a million converging factors: your past experiences, her history, the timing of your meeting, the choices you both made, the unspoken needs and fears you carried. Seeing this bigger picture does not excuse hurtful actions, but it does dissolve the poisonous idea that this happened to you alone as a personal punishment. You were both actors in a much larger play, following scripts written long before you met. The breakup, from this elevated view, becomes a necessary event in the unfolding story of two lives. Perhaps it had to end so you could both become the people you are meant to be. Perhaps the friction was the universe's way of sanding down your rough edges, preparing you for a future chapter you cannot yet see. This perspective is the ultimate antidote to a sense of personal injustice. That feeling, "Why did this happen to me?" is rooted in the belief that you were singled out for unfair treatment. Sympatheia replaces that with a quiet understanding. It happened because it was the logical outcome of everything that came before. You are not being targeted by fate, you are participating in it. This shift is incredibly freeing. It allows you to see her not as an adversary who wronged you, but as another complex human being navigating her own difficult path, guided by her own fears and desires. You shared a stretch of road together, and now your paths have diverged. There is no villain in this story, only two travelers who for a time walked side by side. Holding onto resentment is like blaming a river for changing course. It is a natural force following the lay of the land. When you internalize this interconnectedness, your energy shifts from blame to a somber acceptance. You begin to wish her well, not as a performative act of fake generosity, but as a genuine acknowledgement that her journey continues just as yours does. Her happiness or struggle is now part of a different web, one you are no longer entangled with. This does not mean you need to be friends or even in contact. It simply means you release the mental burden of casting her as the antagonist in your personal drama. You free up that mental space to focus on your own path, the one thread in the grand tapestry you can actually influence. Your story was always bigger than the relationship, and it continues now, connected to everything else in ways you may never fully comprehend but can learn to trust. That web of interconnectedness asks for a final, decisive action from you, a conscious choice to stop adding your own voice to the noise. The 19th lesson is that silence is a strength. In a world that constantly demands a reaction, that celebrates public processing and dramatic declarations, the Stoic practice of restraint is not just old-fashioned, it is a genuine superpower. After a breakup, every instinct screams for expression. You want to explain your side, to correct the record, to have the final, devastating word that proves you were right. But here is the counterintuitive truth: the most respectable thing you can possibly do is often to say nothing at all. This silence is not the quiet of defeat or confusion. It is the powerful, resonant silence of a man who has nothing left to prove. It is a calculated choice to conserve your most precious resources, your energy and your peace, and to invest them solely in your own forward motion. Think about the alternative. Engaging in a protracted argument over text, dissecting every past grievance, is like trying to put out a fire by throwing gasoline on it. You might feel a temporary surge of vindication, but you are only ensuring the emotional burn lasts longer and scars deeper. Justifying yourself to every mutual friend, turning your social circle into a makeshift courtroom where you plead your case, does not win you respect. It wins you pity, and it forces your friends into an uncomfortable role as judges of a private matter. Seeking the last word, that clever final text designed to land the knockout blow, does not make you look strong. It makes you look desperate for control, like a child slamming a door to prove a point. True strength does not need to announce itself. It is demonstrated through what you choose not to do. When you hear a piece of gossip about yourself and you do not rush to correct it, you are demonstrating that your self-worth is not contingent on public opinion. When a mutual friend tries to draw you into a conversation about her new life and you politely change the subject, you are enforcing a boundary that protects your mental space. When you have the perfect cutting retort on the tip of your tongue and you swallow it, you are proving that your temper is yours to command. This disciplined silence speaks volumes. It tells everyone, including yourself, that you are governed by a deeper principle than momentary emotion. It shows that you value your own peace more than you value winning a petty skirmish or controlling a narrative you were never meant to control. People may not understand it at first. They might mistake your quiet for coldness or indifference, but in time, that consistent, dignified restraint becomes unmistakable. It is the mark of a man who has done his grieving and his learning in private, and who has emerged with a maturity that does not require an audience. Your silence becomes the empty space around you, and into that space respect naturally flows. It is the quiet evidence that you have moved the battle from the external world to the internal one, and that you are winning the only war that truly matters, the one for your own character. Your ego has just taken a direct hit. A breakup is not just the loss of a partner, it is a brutal demotion in the story you tell yourself. You go from being a central character in a shared narrative to feeling like a footnote in someone else's life. That sting, that raw sense of injustice, is the ego screaming in protest. The 20th lesson is the death of that ego, the cultivation of humility. This is not about thinking less of yourself, but about thinking of yourself less and seeing your role in the story with clear, unflinching honesty. Stoicism does not offer flattery or false comfort. It offers the liberating, if painful, truth that you are not the center of the universe, and that this painful event is a profound opportunity to learn exactly that. Humility begins with a simple, devastating admission: you contributed to the relationship's end. This is not about accepting all blame or declaring yourself unworthy. It is about acknowledging your humanity. Relationships are co-creations. You brought your own patterns, your own unhealed wounds, your own communication habits, your own moments of taking her for granted or failing to meet a need. To examine your contribution is not an act of self-flagellation. It is an act of radical responsibility. It moves the locus of control from outside, where you are a powerless victim of her choices, to inside, where you are an active participant in your own life story. Ask yourself not what did she do wrong, but where did I fall short of my own standards? Was there a time I lacked the courage to be fully honest? Did I sometimes prioritize being right over being connected? Did I neglect my own goals and interests, becoming a less interesting partner in the process? This audit is for your eyes only, and its purpose is not to shame you, but to show you the specific, raw materials you have to work with for your own rebuilding. The ego wants to paint a picture of flawless victimhood because that story is simple and it hurts less in the short term. Humility is willing to look at the messy, complicated canvas where both of your brushstrokes created the final image. Embracing this ego death is excruciating because it means surrendering the story that protects you. It means letting go of the fantasy that if you had just done one thing differently, she would have stayed. It means accepting that you are a work in progress with flaws and blind spots, just like every other person on this planet. That acceptance is the fertile ground for genuine growth. When you stop asking, "Why did she do this to me?" and start asking, "What can this teach me about myself?" everything changes. The first question keeps you trapped in a loop of blame and powerlessness, a spectator in your own life. The second question makes you the active student, the archaeologist of your own character, sifting through the rubble for precious artifacts of self-knowledge. What is this pain revealing about my deepest insecurities? What need was she filling that I must now learn to fill for myself? What pattern have I carried from past relationships into this one? This is how heartbreak becomes alchemy. The leaden weight of rejection is transformed into the gold of self-awareness. You stop trying to craft a perfect image for the world to see, and you start the far more meaningful work of building a solid character for yourself to live with. The man who emerges from this ego death is not smaller, he is real. He is humble, not because he thinks he is nothing, but because he knows he is not everything. He carries a quiet confidence that comes from having faced his own imperfections and decided to improve them, not hide them. This humility makes you deeply respectable because it shows you have the courage to tell yourself the truth and the strength to grow from it. The death of the ego teaches you to expect imperfection, especially from yourself. The 21st lesson is to prepare for setbacks, a practice the Stoics called proseuche, which means constant, vigilant attention. Your journey of healing is not a straight line ascending a mountain. It is a path through a living forest where you will sometimes walk in clear sunlight and other times stumble back into the old, familiar shadows. There will be days, even weeks after you feel you have turned a corner, where a song, a scent, or the simple quiet of a Sunday morning will ambush you. A wave of longing will crash over you with the same raw force it had in the first week. This is not failure, this is the human condition. Proseuche is your early warning system and your anchor in those moments. It is the practice of being so attentively aware of your own inner landscape that you see the storm clouds forming long before the rain begins to fall. You become the watchman of your own mind. So how does this work when the setback hits? It begins with the simple, non-judgmental act of noticing. You are going about your day, and suddenly, out of nowhere, you are mentally redecorating the apartment you shared or replaying a happy memory on a loop. The old you might have been swept away by that current, tumbling downstream into a full day of melancholy, maybe even reaching for the phone. The you practicing proseuche sees the thought the moment it appears. You do not fight it, you do not curse yourself for having it, you simply observe it with a gentle curiosity. Ah, you say to yourself, there is the 3 p.m. nostalgia wave. There is the mental movie about the beach vacation. By naming it, you accomplish something profound. You create a tiny sliver of space between you and the thought. You are no longer the thought, you are the aware presence witnessing the thought. This is mindfulness in its purest, most stoic form. Once you have noticed and labeled, you deploy your tools not as a panicked reaction but as a trained response. You immediately apply the dichotomy of control. Is this memory, this feeling, something I can change? No, it is a fact of the past. Is my response to it something I can control? Absolutely, so you choose your response. You might guide your attention to the present moment using your senses. Feel the keyboard under your fingers. Listen to the distant hum of traffic. Take 3 conscious breaths. You might ask the premeditation of evil's question, and what then? If I sit with this feeling for an hour, will I survive? Yes, you might even use the view from above, pulling your mental camera back to see this single, aching moment as a small part of your vast life. The goal is not to never feel the pain again. The goal is to prevent a bad moment from metastasizing into a bad day, and a bad day from collapsing into a bad week. A setback is just a wave. Without procession, you forget you are a surfer and think you are the water getting tossed and turned. With procession, you see the wave coming, you plant your feet on your board, and you ride it out knowing it will pass beneath you. You acknowledge its power, but you do not let it drown you. Each time you successfully navigate a wave like this, you are not just avoiding a relapse, you are building evidence. You are proving to your deepest self that you have the skills and the resilience to handle these emotional aftershocks. They become less terrifying because you have a protocol. You have a practiced sequence of noticing, labeling, and responding that keeps you from being hijacked. This turns what feels like a personal failure into just another part of the training, another rep in the gym of your character. The path forward is not paved with perfect days, but with the confident knowledge that you can walk through the imperfect ones without losing your way. Your ego has been sanded down, and the waves of setback have taught you how to stay afloat. Now you stand on a quiet, empty shore. The relationship that once gave your life a shared meaning is gone, and in its absence you might feel a chilling vacuum. This emptiness is not your enemy. It is the most valuable space you will ever occupy. The 20-second lesson is to find your guiding principles, to consciously build your own personal philosophy. A breakup does not just end a partnership, it often dismantles a major part of your identity. You were a boyfriend, a partner, one half of a unit. Without that title, who are you? This is not a crisis, it is the ultimate invitation. You are being handed a blank slate and the absolute freedom to decide what gets written on it. The goal is to move from being a character in someone else's story to becoming the author of your own. This begins with a simple, profound question: what are my core values now? Not the values you inherited from your family, or adopted from your ex, or absorbed from the culture around you. Your values, the ones that will serve as your internal compass long after the noise of this heartbreak has faded. Take a piece of paper and write this question at the top. Then, in the silence, listen. Think back to the moments in your relationship when you felt most at peace, most respected, most like yourself. What was present in those moments? Was it honesty? Was it a shared sense of adventure? Was it deep, attentive listening? Now, think of the moments of greatest friction. What was missing? Was it a lack of integrity? Was it an absence of personal ambition? Was it a violation of mutual respect? Your reactions are clues. The things you cherished point toward your values. The things that caused you pain often point to a value being trampled. From this reflection, draft your shortlist. Make it 3 to 5 words: integrity, courage, self-reliance, curiosity, compassion. These are not abstract ideals, they are your new operating system. They become the criteria for every decision you make from this day forward. Does scrolling through her social media align with my value of self-respect? No, then I do not do it. Does taking on that challenging new project at work align with my value of courage? Yes, then I say yes. Your values become the pillars of your new identity, and they are unshakable because you chose them yourself. The next question is even bigger. What does a good life mean to me, independent of any relationship? For so long, your vision of a good life was likely a shared vision, a collage of mutual dreams. Now you must paint a picture for one. This is not a sad exercise in settling for less. It is a thrilling declaration of sovereignty. A good life might mean financial independence and the freedom to travel on a whim. It might mean dedicating yourself to mastering a craft, or building a community of deep friendships, or contributing to a cause larger than yourself. It might simply mean cultivating a daily existence of quiet peace, good health, and intellectual curiosity. Get specific. What does your ideal morning look like? How do you spend your weekends? What kind of man do you want to be in your friendships and your work? Describe it in detail. This personal philosophy becomes your blueprint. It turns the empty space left by the breakup into a construction site for the life you actually want. You are no longer filling a void, you are building a palace according to your own design. This process of self-redefinition is the alchemy that turns loss into liberation. You are not just getting over someone, you are actively becoming someone new, someone more solid and self-directed. Every time you make a choice based on your new code, you are casting a vote for the man you are becoming. It might feel awkward at first, like wearing a new suit of clothes. But with each consistent action, the fabric softens and molds to you. You begin to move through the world with a different posture. Your decisions come from an internal foundation, not from a reaction to external events or a desire for someone else's approval. You become, in the truest sense, your own man. The respect this earns from others is a side effect, a natural byproduct of the deep self-respect you are cultivating. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you cannot be easily shaken. The next time love enters your life, it will not be because you needed someone to complete you, but because you found someone who complements the complete person you have already built. Your personal philosophy is the light you build in the darkness, ensuring you are never lost again. A blueprint for your life is a powerful start, but it demands a new way of holding the things you value most. The 23rd lesson is the delicate art of non-attachment. This is perhaps the most misunderstood of all Stoic ideas. Stoicism is not a philosophy against love. It is a philosophy against the sickness of clinging, against the quiet desperation that whispers you need this specific person to be happy. There is a vast, liberating chasm between loving someone and being attached to them. Love is an active appreciation, a genuine wish for their well-being, a joy in their presence. Attachment is a silent contract, a belief that your inner peace is held hostage by their continued presence in your life. It is the fear of losing them overshadowing the gratitude for having them. Your task now is to hold your past relationship up to this stark light and ask yourself with brutal honesty, what was I truly attached to? Was it her, the unique individual with all her quirks and spirit, or was it the security she provided, the comfort of a known future, the identity of being someone's partner, the reliable warmth that shielded you from facing your own solitude? Often we mourn not the person but the role they filled. We miss the shared routines, the inside jokes, the feeling of being chosen. These are attachments to a situation, to a version of ourselves that existed within that dynamic. Recognizing this is not cynical, it is the first step toward a love that is clean and free. When you love from a place of non-attachment, you love the person for who they are, not for what they do for you. You appreciate the gift of their presence without building your entire emotional house upon it. This is what it means to hold something loosely. You can cherish a beautiful glass vase, admire its craftsmanship, and enjoy the flowers it holds. But if you grip it with white knuckles, terrified of it shattering, you cannot truly appreciate it. Your energy is spent on fear, not on gratitude. The vase becomes a source of anxiety. Non-attachment is the ability to appreciate the vase fully, knowing it is fragile, knowing it could one day be gone, and being at peace with that truth. It allows you to love more deeply because your love is not a chain but an open hand. Apply this to your future. The goal is not to become cold or guarded, to swear off love to avoid future pain. That is just another form of attachment, an attachment to safety. The goal is to enter your next relationship from a place of wholeness, not lack. You are not coming to someone with an empty cup, begging them to fill it. You are coming with a full cup and choosing to share its contents. This changes everything. Arguments become discussions about differences, not threats to your survival. Time apart becomes space for individual growth, not evidence of fading affection. And if one day the relationship must end, a non-attached love allows for a peaceful goodbye. There is grief, of course, a deep sadness for the loss of a shared path. But there is not the world-ending devastation of having your identity shattered, because your identity was never built upon them. You can look back and say, that was beautiful and I am grateful it happened, and now our journeys diverge. This is the ultimate freedom and the deepest form of respect you can offer both to yourself and to anyone you ever love. You are saying, I choose you not because I need you, but because I see you, and in seeing you, I am enriched. The emptiness left by a non-attached love reveals a startling truth about the currency you have been spending without a second thought. The 24th lesson is that your time is your most precious resource, and you must treat it accordingly. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote an entire essay called On the Shortness of Life, and his central argument is brutal. We do not have a short life, we make it short. We waste it, and in the fog of a breakup, you are standing at a dangerous crossroads of time. You have been handed a sudden, staggering windfall, hours upon hours that were once dedicated to planning dates, having long conversations, managing a shared calendar, and simply being present with another person. That time is now yours again. What you do with this reclaimed asset is the single clearest indicator of whether you are moving forward or merely spinning in place. Stoicism demands ruthless honesty here. Every minute spent mentally rehearsing old arguments, stalking social media profiles, or fantasizing about alternate outcomes is not just a minute lost, it is a minute actively invested in your own suffering. You are taking the finite sand in your hourglass and pouring it directly onto the ground. This is the opposite of amor fati. It is a rebellion against your own fate, a refusal to accept the gift of the present moment because you are too busy paying rent on a past you were evicted from. You must become the strictest accountant of your own life. Audit your days with a merciless eye. Track where your attention goes. You will likely find shocking pockets of time lost to the passive consumption of other people's lives online or to the endless, circular discussions about her with your friends. This is not healing, it is rumination, and it is a debt that compounds daily. The Stoic response is to seize that time and redirect it with deliberate force. Invest it. Think of time as capital, and you are now the sole venture capitalist of you. Your first investment should be in skill building. That language you always wanted to learn, that software program that could advance your career, that instrument gathering dust in the corner, now is the moment. Dedicate 30 minutes a day, not as a distraction, but as a declaration that you are building a more capable future self. The compound interest on this kind of investment is immeasurable. Next, invest in your physical health with the precision of a craftsman. Your body is the vessel for your mind and your future. A rigorous workout is not just about endorphins, it is a direct investment in your energy, your confidence, and your longevity. It is you telling your body, and by extension your spirit, that you value it enough to strengthen it. Then, invest deliberately in your friendships, not the superficial checking in, but the deep, time-rich connections that nourish your soul. Plan a weekend trip with a close friend. Have a long, meandering dinner without your phone on the table. Listen intently. These investments pay dividends in belonging and joy, rebuilding the social fabric that a relationship can sometimes obscure. Finally, pour time into a meaningful project that is entirely your own. Start writing that book, even if it is just one paragraph a night. Build that piece of furniture. Volunteer for a cause you believe in. Create something that did not exist before, something that bears only your fingerprint. This proactive use of time is the ultimate act of self-respect. It is a daily, tangible vote for your own future over your past. It transforms you from a passive character in a story that ended into the active author of a story that is just beginning. When you look back on this period, you will not remember the days you spent grieving. You will remember what you built in the spaces between the grief. You will see a timeline filled with evidence of growth, not a blank scroll stained with tears. Time is the one resource you can never earn back. Wasting it on what you have lost is the deepest disrespect you can show to the life you still have to live. Investing it, minute by deliberate minute, is how you build a life so compelling that the past simply loses its power to haunt you. The final test of your transformation is not a secret ritual, but a single, quiet thought. Wish her well. This is the 25th and ultimate lesson drawn from the personal writings of the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who instructed himself to wish good even for those who wrong him. It is the master-level practice, the final proof that your inner citadel is not just fortified but at peace. This is not about sending a grand, performative message of forgiveness. It is not a tactic to appear noble or to elicit a reaction. It is a private, internal shift, the conscious decision to hope for her happiness, genuinely and without condition. You are not doing this for her, you are doing it as the definitive declaration that you are free. Resentment is a chain, a bitter tether that keeps you emotionally bound to the past. Every time you hope she regrets her choice, every time you secretly wish for her new relationship to fail, every time you take a small, dark pleasure in imagining her struggle, you are not hurting her. You are drinking a slow poison and calling it justice. You are keeping the wound open from the inside. To wish her well is to finally pour the antidote. It is the deliberate, courageous act of cutting that last, invisible cord. How do you begin when the feeling is not there? You start with the action and the feeling may follow. In the quiet of your own mind, practice the thought, may she find what she is looking for, may she be at peace, may her life be good. At first, it will feel foreign, even hypocritical. It might taste like ash in your mouth. That is okay. The resistance is the measure of the lesson's importance. You are not affirming that everything she did was right. You are affirming that your own peace is no longer contingent on her suffering. You are recognizing her humanity, separate from your story about her. She is a person, flawed and complex on her own path, just as you are on yours. This wish severs the connection of bitterness because it changes the energy of the memory. When you think of her now, instead of the mental movie ending with a slam of the door and a surge of anger, you can let it end with a quiet release. You can look back at the good times and feel simple gratitude, and look at the end with a somber acceptance. The narrative is complete. There is no more charge, no more unresolved business in your heart. This is the ultimate sign of respect, not for her actions, but for her humanity and, crucially, for your own. It proves you have mastered the previous lessons. You have separated what is yours from what is not, and her happiness is firmly in the not yours column, but your wish for it is entirely within your control. You have loved your fate, and this is the final, loving acceptance of all its parts. You have guarded your inner citadel, and now you are sending out a message of peace from its highest tower, unconcerned with whether it is received. When you can sincerely wish her well, you have passed the final test. You are no longer her ex, defined by a reaction to her. You are simply yourself, a man who has walked through fire and emerged not with scars of bitterness, but with the clear, calm warmth of a heart that has chosen to remain open. This is the unshakable respect you have earned, first from yourself and inevitably from the world. The journey ends not with a victory over her, but with a profound victory over the part of you that needed to win. You are free. So there you have it, 25 Stoic lessons to navigate the storm of a breakup, not just with your dignity intact, but with your character forged stronger than ever. This was never a guide for winning someone back or crafting a perfect image of indifference. It is a blueprint for a quiet, internal revolution. Remember, being a respected ex is not about her, it is about who you choose to become in the aftermath. It is the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth is not defined by a relationship's end, but by the principles he upholds when everything feels like it is ending. This journey asks you to shift your focus from the external drama, the questions of what she is doing or thinking, to the only project that has ever truly mattered, the construction of your inner citadel. Every time you choose the present moment over the painful past, every time you act with virtue when you feel justified in pettiness, every time you invest your precious time in building a skill instead of dissecting a memory, you are laying another stone in that fortress. You are proving to yourself through action that you are more than your loss. Put these principles into practice. Start with just one. Perhaps today you will practice the dichotomy of control. drawing that clear line between what is yours to command and what you must release. Maybe tomorrow you will attempt a moment of voluntary discomfort, rising an hour earlier or taking a cold shower to remind your spirit of its own resilience. This is not a race, it is a daily returning to the work, a gentle but firm redirection of your energy inward. Watch as you not only heal but evolve. The pain will not vanish overnight, but it will transform. It will cease to be a prison and become a classroom. The silence will stop feeling like an emptiness and start feeling like a sacred space for your own thoughts to finally be heard. You will look in the mirror one morning and recognize a different man looking back, not a victim of circumstance, but the author of his response. This version of you commands respect, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. It flows naturally from the calm center he has built, from the integrity of his actions, from the humility of his self-knowledge. That respect will come from her, perhaps as a quiet, later recognition of the man you became. It will come from others who will sense a new depth and stability in your presence. But most importantly, it will come from yourself, a deep and unshakable knowing that you faced one of life's most difficult trials and used it not as an excuse to diminish, but as a reason to grow. You turned an ending into a beginning. If this journey resonated with you, if you see the potential for this philosophy to power more than just your recovery, then hit that like button. Subscribe for more of these life tools drawn from the ancient well of Stoic wisdom and applied to the modern challenges we all face. And let me know in the comments below which one of these 25 lessons are you going to apply first. Your first step is a declaration. Make it count.